All right, you horrible lot. Right, pipe down. Stand to attention when I'm talking to you. That was an absolutely appalling performance. And I haven't seen one that bad since, well, about 3 matches ago. So, this time, Tadja, if you're going to drop some dynamite, make sure you're not stood on the edge of a cliff when it goes off.
Stupid!
Bodge, I want you to dig down deep in this round. Get yourself buried in so that they can't get you from above.
Excellent!
And Spadge, no words, just you continue being the legend you've always been.
Perfect!
Now come on, let's load up and get 'em. Hello everybody, welcome to the Re-Review, the series where I get to replay and reassess games from my favourite gaming era. I'm Brian, also known as UK Jen Zoidberg, and I'm proud to say that this is my 75th episode of the Re-Review. When I kicked all of this off with an episode about Alien Breed way back in 2022, I had no idea that there would be people out there who would want to listen to me talk about my passion for Amiga games, yet here you all are. So having started all of this off looking at one of Team 17's earliest successes, I'm now turning my attention to what is arguably their greatest ever success. Join me as I delve into the making of a game that kickstarted a nearly 30-year-old franchise, and see what the critics had to say about it on its original release. That game is of course Worms, which was developed by Andy Davidson and published by Team 17 in November 1995. One of the best games that I ever received on a cover disc for the Amiga was a little game called Tanks. Given away with Amiga Action magazine, this saw 2 players taking it in turns to take shots at each other across randomly generated terrain. Power, angle of your shots and wind direction all needed to be taken into account. It would honestly go on to be one of the most played games between me and my brother, right up there with Speedball 2 and Kickoff. It was not the first game of its kind, or the last. I know there are a lot of Amiga owners out there who have fond memories of a game called Scorched Tanks as well. This is a genre that clearly inspired a young game designer by the name of Andy Davidson, when he set about making games for him and his friends using the Amos programming language. The story of Worms, however, really begins with the November 1993 issue of Amiga Format. Given away on the cover disc with this issue was the full version of Blitz Basic 2, the programming language developed by Mark Sibley. More importantly though was the fact that the magazine also ran a competition to develop a game using it, with the top prize being 2 Amiga 4000s. Davidson set about converting a game that he'd been working on from Amos to Blitz Basic. That game was called Total Wormage and saw teams of 4 battling it out for supremacy. Upon completing the game, he sent off his entry and waited. All that waiting was in vain though, as when the competition closed and the results were published in the magazine, the game didn't even get a mention. According to an interview in a recent edition of Amiga Addict magazine, Davidson would realise later on, after speaking to somebody at Acid Software who were on the judging panel, that the game had actually been disqualified from the competition, as he had forgotten to submit the source code with his entry. Undeterred, Davidson's next option was to head off to the European Computer Trade Show to show off his game. The first person that he showed it to was Martin Brown of Team 17, who not only liked the game, but made an offer to buy it on the spot. Brown, who sadly passed away last year, was somebody who I actually had the pleasure of meeting when I drove over to the Team 17 offices in order to preview Project X. I found him to be a funny, charming man with a clear passion for his work and the Amiga. As one of the founders of Team 17, he was instrumental in the creation of games such as Full Contact, Alien Breed and Super Frog. Opting to publish Worms, however, might just be the best decision that he ever made, as it helped to propel Team 17 to the company that they are today. Davidson stated that Martin Brown's lasting contribution to Worms was the introduction of the prod command, allowing players to completely humiliate their opponents by simply pushing them off a cliff. Next time somebody uses it on you when you're playing a game of Worms, take it as an opportunity to remember a real Amiga legend. Rest in peace. After just a few short months on release, Worms had managed to sell 250,000 copies on the Amiga alone. By the end of 1996, it had been converted to CD32, PC, Mac, Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn. Worms the Director's Cut, with a number of new weapons and gameplay tweaks, was released for the Amiga in 1997. To date, there have been 22 main games released in the Worms series, with a couple of forays into 3D that I don't really think work that well. There have also been multiple spin-offs, such as Worms Pinball, Worms Blast, Worms Crazy Golf, and the most recent game, Worms Rumble. It was reported around the time of the game's 25th anniversary that the entire series had managed to sell 75 million copies worldwide. If you want to play the original version today, then the Director's Cut version is one of the pre-built games into the A500 Mini. Now though, it's time to take a look at what all the reviews said about the game upon its original release. At the end of 1995, some of the Amiga magazines that I feature at this part of the video had actually closed down. Both Amiga Action and Amiga Computing were no more, and the One Amiga wouldn't be far behind, having just switched publisher to Maverick Magazines. There's only one place that we can start though when it comes to talking about the scores that Worms received, and that's the review that appeared in Amiga Power issue 57. The magazine were well known for their concept reviews, and this one took the form of a questionnaire. Readers were invited to add or deduct scores based on their answers. Jonathan Davis, who wrote the review, went through the questionnaire himself and came to a final score of just 60%. At the time of this review, there was a well-publicised feud going on, to the extent that Amiga Power were not being provided review copies by Team 17. Sister publications at Future were also instructed not to share their discs. Was this 60% review an act of bitterness from the magazine, or did they genuinely believe that their score was accurate? I'm sure that there are people on both sides who claim that their story is true. As far as the other scores go, they were almost unanimous in their praise. CU Amiga and the One Amiga both scored it with a whopping 94%, with CU Amiga even going one better when they reviewed the CD32 version a few issues later, when they gave that 95%. Amiga Format gave it 90%, and Amiga CD32 Gamer awarded it 92%. From a total of 7 reviews across both versions of the game, the average score was 87.1%. At the time of recording, the user reviews on Lemon Amiga are 8.62 for the original version and 8.45 for the CD32. Now though, it's time to load the game up and see what I think of it. It's time for the playtest. Okay, so here we are playing the A1200 version. If you're playing it single player, you do have the option of League, Tournament or a Friendly. I'm going to do a Friendly. Already entered my my team name, and let's go for Oh No, Top Dog and HRH as my 3 opponents. Okay, so we have 4 teams of 4. There's Blocker, Builder, Digger and Climber are the team called Oh No. My turn. Let's give Scooby a Dragon Punch, shall we? Which one's that? The Fire Punch is there. The computer opponents do move at a pretty steady pace, it must be said. The gameplay doesn't hang around. Girders, Skip Go, Kamikaze. Which one does Dynamite? There we go. Now, unfortunately, I've left myself quite vulnerable on the edge there. I'm going to go for a Cluster Bomb. One more. I'm happy with that. I don't think I can do Airstrike yet, can I? No, I can't. Okay. Homing missile it is. Right. Homing missile on Charles. As a single player experience, there's not a huge amount to the game. Quite clearly designed or intended as a multiplayer game. I do like playing it with the mouse and keyboard. You can do a lot of things easily, like all the weapons are on the F keys, the mouse will move around the map. There's clearly a lot of thought gone into making it easy to play. So there's only me and the HRH team remaining. Although they've got 3 worms left, so I don't fancy my chances. Oh, especially not when they can do perfect throws like that. And that's match over. I think what I need for the remainder of this playtest is probably the help of an additional player. So bear with me 1 second and I will be back with someone. Okay, so as everybody knows, Worms is best played as a multiplayer game. So I have drafted in Teru to help me with the first little demonstration of the game.
Woohoo!
Let's just get on with a quick friendly match.
It's never truly friendly in Worms.
Let's fire one at Tidus.
Don't pronounce it that way. Oh, you got 2 of mine, you... It's me!
A little bit of graphical glitching there, but we are playing the CD32 version through Win UAE. So
How do you jump?
Jump, I think, is the B button. Got no idea who I'm throwing this at, but
Leela went in the drink.
I killed one of my own worms. You do have this is the classic selection of weapons, of course. I think if you played it on the A500, you actually were able to move around the map with the mouse, and then you actually had the arrow keys and enter and spacebar for your fire buttons and things.
How'd you fire?
The yellow button is fire.
No!
Oh, and we get an action replay of that one.
Oh no!
I think this means you only have the one character left now, doesn't
I
it?
do only have the one character left.
And I believe one of the criticisms that Amiga Power had of the game was that it was unfairly balanced towards the single player once you get down to having only a single character left.
Only 50 that is.
50 is the maximum that you can get off a character with a rocket.
Okay.
And I just walked into a mine and destroyed myself. So it's now your turn again.
Okay.
You almost got yourself with that.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure how it was going to come down. And I completely missed your Zoid character. Bender's there.
I forgot Bender was still alive. Right.
A replay.
And we get an action replay because I think that's the final.
Oh, exactly 45.
We both died.
Oh, yes, I'll take it.
And it's Una to go first.
Okay.
That's 3 of yours all in one place, isn't it?
Yeah. What the hell?
Try not to walk into mines. These are mines. You could go and use the prod and knock him. Well, I was going to say you could have jumped up there and just prodded him off into the 2 mines below.
Yeah.
Or use the dragon punch.
Uh-huh.
You flew off the side of the screen. So
No.
that would have killed. That would have killed you even if you had 100 health left.
That's you.
Yes, I know.
Why did you do that?
I was trying to arc it up a little bit more. I just didn't put enough power on the shot.
Okay.
And I must say
Okay, that really didn't do anything but destroy scenery, but okay.
the first version of Worms that I ever played was the PlayStation version, and not the Amiga one. There's very little difference between the two, it must be said. The PlayStation version is just obviously a little bit more polished.
Now, is all that scenery or graphical glitch? Yeah.
Everything that's white is a glitch.
Okay. Worth it.
You've killed yourself then.
Yep. Definitely worth it. No! Titus!
Yes. I can't get far enough away for it to not hurt me as well. That's the problem.
That was a bit of a kamikaze run there, but that's all my worms.
Yes.
So that was best 2 of 3.
It was. The most picked on was Fry, the most useless was Wacker, the most violent was me, and the best shot came from Bender, who got 1,000 points with a single shot. Which is probably that dropping the dynamite on you.
Boo!
So anyway,
That was very much fun.
so anyway, that's where we're going to end the playtest and move on to the re-review. So thank you for playing this with me, Terry.
You're welcome.
I will move on and summarise my thoughts. By the time Worms was originally released, I was actually buying my first PlayStation, and it was one of the games that I got alongside it. So before making this episode, I actually had very little experience of the Amiga original. The basic gameplay of the Worms franchise has remained the same in almost every version of the series for a very good reason. Yes, there have been many refinements and additions along the way, but there's something to be said for just how good the game is in its original form. It proves that the classic selection of weapons are all that you need for a good competitive game, although I must admit I do miss the holy hand grenade. Playing it solo is not really recommended, as the AI opponents that you'll come up against are either utterly hopeless or completely unbeatable, with no in between. Grab some friends though, and it becomes one of the best party games that you can play. Whether you're just playing a few friendly matches against your friends or a full-blown league, it's an absolute blast. It's a shame that they didn't really do anything in bringing the game to the CD32, apart from adding a few admittedly good animated skits. I found that playing it with a joypad was not as good as the mouse and keyboard controls of the original. When it comes to competitive multiplayer games on the Amiga, Worms still sits right at the top. I've placed it at number 3 on the Super League, behind its own director's cut and Dynablaster. I also featured it in a Best 10 Multiplayer Games video that I published on the channel, and I'll put a link to that one in the video description. At the end of the day, I think I'll go with an 8 out of 10 score for the original version of Worms, as although it's really good fun to see where the series started, there's also no doubt that the improvements made in the director's cut version were actually needed. Thank you for watching this episode of the re-review. I really can't believe that I've reached 75 episodes already. If you've not seen them all, please do check out the playlist that should be appearing on screen any second now. Why not tell me your memories of playing Worms in the comments? Were you one of those people who was there at the beginning, or did you discover it later on? Amiga owners can expect a brand new video on this channel every Friday at noon, as well as a live stream every Tuesday. If you follow the link to our Discord, there is actually a channel on there where you can suggest games for me to cover in future episodes. You can also keep up to date with channel news, show off any high scores that you've achieved on games, or simply just chat about games with our team. Before you go though, please make sure that you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to watch these videos before anybody else, then early access is one of the perks that you can get after you become a VIP member for just $1.99 a month. We really do appreciate every single way that you show support for the channel and the things that we do. Until next time, happy retro gaming everybody. Bye for now.